I'm ready.
Okay, I'm waiting for the confirmation from IT. Okay, it's live if you would. Okay, it's live now, Commissioner.
I'll be right back, guys. I printed that out. I'm gonna go look at it.
Hello.
Hello, Commissioner Burrell.
All right, how you all doing?
Doing fine, sir.
Okay. We waiting on the chairman?
He's here.
No.
Commissioner Johnson, we're live if you want to go ahead.
Yeah, I'm ready. Roll call, please.
Sure. Johnson, Burrell,
Present.
Hawthorne, Hopkins,
Here.
Lazarus, Chavez.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Okay. Commissioner Hopkins, would you do the invocation, and Commissioner Lazarus, would you do the pledge?
Sure.
Yes, sir.
Please bow. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for letting us gather together today as a group. Go with us as we do the business of this parish. Give us strength. Give us good reasoning to make good decisions for the people of our parish. This I pray in Christ's name. Amen.
Yeah.
Amen. Everyone stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
There is. You did. Yes or no? I don't know. Michelle.
I'm sorry, sir. Commissioner, I can't hear you.
Agenda additions.
No, sir.
No.
I don't have any agenda additions nor any public comments. I'm sorry, sir.
Are they in the?
You're breaking up, sir.
Let's see. Is it better?
A little bit.
Mm. Let's see. What can we do? Hold on. I'm here. Just bear with me a second.
Okay. I did want to mention that the certificate for the teleconference is attached to the agenda.
Okay. Switch to Wi-Fi, so I should be better.
It sounds a lot better, sir.
Audio.
It's better.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Are there any agenda additions?
No, sir.
Okay. Any public comments?
No, sir. I haven't received any.
Okay. We're down to new business. The certificate of teleconference. And that basically is there because of the governor's executive order.
Yes, sir.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure, just in case someone asks. All right. And then we're down to the review and discuss NGOs from the 2020 budget. So basically the real reason for the meeting is to look at our NGOs that were approved in 2019 for 2020. And we need to review them because of the riverboat funding that has been suspended since the riverboats are down. Everyone should have gotten a complete list of the NGOs that were budgeted. I hope you got it in front of you. And so what we'll do, there have already been some organizations that have been funded. And I wanted for you to know what has been funded and then the balance between what's been funded and what should be funded for the rest of the year. Some of the programs will probably be hampered by the coronavirus due to the fact of right now you can't gather groups of people together larger than 10, and some of that time is elapsed that some of the funding was asked for. So basically what I wanted to do is to get a better understanding so everybody will be on the same page. You should have also gotten a revenue analysis 2020 versus 2019, which talks about riverboat gaming, oil and gas, video poker, sales tax each month so far this year, and what was the money that was brought in. And so you'll kind of know how much the average, that if things get back open and going good, that how much we will possibly could get coming back in. Looking at how some of the other states are opening up, it looked like people were tired of being at home and they're just going out and spending money and doing all kind of things. So if that holds true to our riverboats, we could possibly be getting somewhere around, I'm gonna say on the low side of 70,000 and on the high side of maybe $100,000 a month on Riverboat Gaming, just rounding things off. Hayley, if you think I'm off on my forecast, let me know.
That's the revenue obviously is going to be determined by when we get to open up and at what capacity. I think on my email I had sent to you guys, I mentioned that the revenue for March was only what, 30 something thousand dollars a year. I mean, a month, that month. We should not get any money for April or May. Assuming they start opening up by July, I wouldn't think they would be at full capacity. So I'm just projecting we would get hopefully half of the revenue that we budgeted for July through December. So based on those calculations, it looks like we'll probably get about $500,000 less than what we had anticipated. Of course, that's just estimates based on how things are going. It could be worse, it could be better, but that's kind of what my analysis is at this time.
Okay,
Point of information.
and one thing too, Riverboat Gaming will be changed quite a bit based upon the distance requirements, and I know that they're making some adjustments inside, so the capacity will probably change, and also the money for the revenue. So that's why I said on the low side and maybe on the high side, and high side might be too high based upon some changes that will be made.
Mr. President,
Commissioner Burrell, yes, sir.
point of information. If I received the information from Hayley, I think I sent out an email after being able to review it on Sunday, since I received it on Friday. Those NGOs that were funded in the first quarter, I guess, well, given the fact that I've had experience in dealing with the parish as well as the city and whomever else, and we were never, even with our reports in, able to get anything until the second quarter, the middle of the second quarter, almost at the time in which we actually had to our projects started. Although we needed funding the first part of the year because we started our planning process, as well as start to make expenditures for our work during the year, actually starting in January. But my statement, but what I'm asking is, given that we spent a third of what I recognize from the information I received, we've already spent 30% of what I assume that the projected budget was a $927,000 for money that we had on hand, or it was our budget for the riverboats, or just what? I wasn't able to figure that out just from the statement that I received.
Based on the funding from 2019 to 2020, the budget for NGOs was $987,750.
That was the budget, not necessarily what was in the what do you call it? The fund balance.
No, that was the budget based upon projected revenue, and it might have had some money transferred over as well.
Well, okay. Could I ask what is the fund balance? What was the fund balance starting January before we start giving money out?
That's a Hayley question.
Okay.
Sorry, it took me a minute to unmute. We have a fund balance before beginning in 2020 of around $800,000.
How much?
We tried to fund the NGOs out of current revenues just to keep from decreasing our fund balance anymore.
Okay, I'm still not getting a figure. Do you understand my question?
Well, I guess the question that I understood was you want to know what the fund balance was. The fund balance was $800,000.
Okay, that was before we expended any funds payout.
Yes.
Okay. All right, so that's different from the budgeted amount. I assume the budgeted amount that you sent us, the 927,000, like the president said, was what was budgeted based upon the applications that was sent in and what you all determined each one would get. Am I understanding that clearly?
Yes, that was the amount of appropriations for 2020 was the 927,000.
Okay.
Yeah, Rob, we had requests for like $3 million. So,
right.
But that was the amount that was allocated.
Okay, I'm trying to educate myself because we're kind of in the middle of this. We were not a part of the budget process, the new ones, and I'm still trying to get my, trying to get my head around this. I guess what I'm leading to, Mr. President, is that there are organizations that actually set their budget based upon what they assume would be part of their budget, which includes their appropriations from different entities, whether it was government, private sector, or what have you. And at this point, there probably will be a number of organizations that will not be able to fulfill their mission for the early part of the year, i.e. the ICE Institute for one, because our major program, although we have expenditures throughout the year, doesn't start until June, and we're right here close to June. So we've having to make a decision to either push off the work that is being done here or just cancel it for the year, which is very difficult, but other organizations are having that same issue. So how, I guess my question to you is, how do we plan to address that? Because with the $300,000 that's already been paid out, and though many of those will not be able to do their work because we're still in the coronavirus period. Are we going to adjust that, or that's why we're here today to discuss that?
That's why we're here today.
Okay, well, we can go ahead on and continue.
Because we got some more funding requests coming later on anyway. So what I wanted to try to do is to look at all the ones that we have already allocated money for, see the ones that have not received money yet, and based upon that, we might have to make some adjustments. And I think that the adjustments will be in order, because if we don't have that funding coming in, then it's hard for us to get that money out.
Point of information, Mr. President. Again, I noticed in the information that was sent to me, and as I read it, it appears that that we actually consider organizations that don't make application. They either send in a letter or something like that, or is everybody on an application process? Do you understand what I'm saying?
NGO is an application process altogether. What we did the other day with the emergency ordinance was totally different from what I've seen since I've been a commissioner. So that's why I put that new legislation on the agenda for today.
Well, could you explain that new legislation? Because when I read it, and you notice I sent another email back trying to understand, I don't like to assume something because your interpretation of legalese and mine may be different, because you may have a legal background more so than myself. I'm an old engineer. So
that apply for money will have to fill.
Okay,
Okay,
so my question?
Any NGO that requests money will have to fill out an application. That's already done. I mean, that's already written, and in order for them to get funding, they have to do an application.
Okay.
What you're talking about is what is the legislation that I have on the agenda for later on, and I don't want to talk about that here because it's not on the agenda. So when we go in our work session, I will go into great detail about that. But for right now, we want to stick to the NGOs that have filled out the application. Now, there are some that sometimes a commissioner would make a motion to fund a particular organization. Legal would say that we don't have a application in. That commissioner said, well, we will get an application in before funding is granted. And so we have done some like that. But before they get a cooperative agreement, before they get any money, they have an application in and it has been reviewed.
Okay, but the reason why I asked that is you made the statement that we will probably be doing funding organizations later on. And I guess what comes to mind is, are those new applications? Since we have other applications already, processed and have made appropriations for those. If we wind up rescinding those or suspending them or stopping them, are we saying that we are funding other applications later on? I mean,
there's already some. There's already
Okay.
some in the queue. I mean, there's 2 or 3 that's already out there that we got to vote on within, I think, at the next regular session. So, I mean, there's already some already out there, and those had already put in the application during the first round of the appropriation in 2019. Either they was overlooked or they at the time they didn't have enough votes to get funded. So they came back again in 2020. It's nothing that says it's if you got a no vote that you can't come back and actually fund in the current year. So that's what they're doing.
Mm. Now we're not talking about economic development. We're talking about
NGOs.
NGOs. Okay.
All right.
All right.
So now everybody got the list in front of them?
No.
Okay, I need you to get that list.
Well, yeah, Mr. President, y'all go ahead on. I probably memorized it because my list, as I said, I left at home, and I'm not, unless I go offline. I wouldn't say go offline, but go in there and try to send it to my printer out of here. Then I'll go ahead on and do what you got to do.
I will.
Well, remember.
All right. So what I wanted to do is kind of go through each one of these, and we can determine if we want to continue the funding at that particular rate, recommend it to the body, or to reduce or not to fund at all. The first one is A Quiet Place in the Woods. It's already been funded at $4,000. Next one is ARC, Caddo Parish. They was actually allocated $8,000. None has been given to them. And basically what they're doing is for Child Development Center.
Mr. President, I hate to keep stopping you, but going back to the whatever in the woods.
It's already funded. It's already funded.
They're already
so
paid
we're
out.
gonna skip those. Yes.
Okay, paid out. Okay.
All right. So with the ARC, Caddo Parish, the Goldman School, do you want to keep that at 8,000 or recommend another number? Commissioner Chavez.
Thanks, Chairman. Listen, I was thinking on some of these, because we have on the purpose, and of course, we only have to deal with the ones that have not been fully funded. Because of the situation that we're currently in, I know I asked Ms. Barnett to send me a fund balance and then the projections. Do you think maybe we should go off of Maslow's hierarchy of needs and look at the things that are most important to the citizen of Caddo
Right. Well,
now?
you know, what I really want to do, like on the ones that are education, that we would just postpone those until a later date. Keep them
Okay.
at not fund them right now and just postpone it to a later date until
Move
we
to
start
delay.
to see. Okay, thank you, Todd. Is there a second?
If you'd like, yeah.
Second.
All right, that
All right,
motion.
I got a motion
Discussion.
and a second to delay the Goldman School.
Discussion, Mr.
question?
Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, I don't have a particular problem with your motion, but my question is, could we not at this point, since those organizations have put this in their budget for the year, that we could actually request a letter of need or urgency? Because see, some of them may have their program going on. It may be virtual or what have you. It seemed like it would be appropriate to give them an opportunity to tell us at what point they are and why they would need to fund within the next quarter or what have you, based upon this COVID virus. Because if not, we're just automatically assuming that their program is not ongoing or is not taking place, that education program, that they are not taking place at this point.
Okay, I got you, Roy. I got you, Roy. Todd, would you take a friendly amendment to your motion to postpone funding? We will send them a letter and ask them, what are you doing with this particular program? In the process, in the time frame of the postponement, in the time frame that the casinos open back up, we will then come back with their answer to that particular question from that letter.
I would do that. Now, the motion was to delay all education programs at this time.
Okay.
But I'll take that as a friendly amendment.
Okay. So
Thank
does
you,
that
Mr.
help
Chairman.
satisfy you, Mr. Burrell?
Yeah, I just want us to be fair to
Okay.
to all of them.
No, that's fine. All right. So we have a motion on the floor to postpone all the education that haven't been paid, which would be the Goldman School, Bernstein Development, Boy Scouts of America, Cedar Grove Community Development, Gertrude's Gift, Girl Scouts of Louisiana, Hard Work Foundation, Image Changers, Inner City Entrepreneur Institute, Loving All Little Ones, Rise, Reach Out and Touch, Renzi Setting Children on the Road to Excellence, Shreveport Little Theater and Academy, Shreveport Opera, Shreveport Regional Arts Council, Sisters International, Social Justice Civic League, Successfully Preparing Our Teens, Theater Performance, well, they already got theirs, Young Women's Christian Association of Northwest Louisiana, and Youth Outreach Services, and you too.
Mr. Chairman, point of clarification.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, as I was, like I said, I don't have it in front of me, but I pretty much memorized it. There were a couple of organizations in there that was shown economic development. I read their statement, and I'm not clear on how they could be deemed economic development when clearly either it was social work or social work / education was more in line. Is there any particular reason why, just because it's stated on there, that they would not be actually put in their proper place?
Hayley, you want to answer that?
Sure. That is a classification that the entities received at some point in this process. It's really for our work. It has nothing to do with anything else. We can change that. For points of this discussion though, just the description will work. But at some point, Shreveport Green was economic development. It was considered economic development. And then
Yeah, that,
categorized that way. But from year to year, their application and their objective might have changed a little bit, and therefore they may have been changed to another category. But that really doesn't hold a lot of weight on anything at this time.
well, that's the reason I was asking Hayley and Mr. Chairman, because ICE was once considered economic development, but they changed it because they said, okay, look like you're more education. Although we had jobs associated with it. Clearly it was economic development mission, but we were classified back to education NGO. And as I was looking at some of the others, they were more education and social than ICE was. I'm just taking from a personal experience. That's the reason I was asking.
Yes, sir. All that. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not trying to complicate things. I'm just trying to be analytical.
I understand. And I in my email where I responded to all your questions, I addressed that was a classification, but it doesn't, and economic development can be funded from Riverboat or economic development. The commission really drives where things are funded from. They might ask our opinion, but it's driven mostly by the commission.
Well, that's the reason why I was posing that, because since I've been on the commission, it appears that there are more resources on the economic development side than there are on the NGOs, the NGO side, and it appears that it's pretty much a decision of the commission where you want to land, which actually placed the NGOs at a disadvantage than it would be a so-called economic development project. That was just my point.
Your point well taken. So we have a motion, we got a second. Any other questions pertaining to the motion? All in favor, say aye or raise your hand.
Do you want me to do roll call?
Roll call, yeah, that work. That work.
Hopkins,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Burrell,
Yes.
Cawthorn is absent. Chavez,
Yes.
Lazarus.
Yes.
We have 5 yeas.
Okay. Moving down, next would be we have one that's an education, social welfare. I would take that would be mostly education and fall under the education one first. So our next one would be community renewal, social welfare, and the funds would be used for free after-school summer programs for children living in at-risk neighborhoods.
That sounds like education too.
That's social welfare, but okay. I would say we postpone that one too until the summer.
Second.
So we got a motion to postpone community renewal until the summer months. And a second by Commissioner Chavez. Are there any questions? Not seeing any. Roll call, please.
Hopkins,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Burrell,
Yes.
Cawthorn absent. Chavez,
Yes.
Lazarus.
Yes.
We have 5 yeas.
Okay. The next one is Food Bank of Northwest Louisiana. I think that they will need some funds. I'd make a motion to keep them on for the 90,000.
Second.
Second.
Question, Mr. Chairman.
So let me carry the motion first. Got a motion fully fund Food Bank of Northwest Louisiana, and a second by Commissioner Chavez. Are there any questions? Now, Commissioner Burrell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm familiar with the food bank. It was in my legislative district for 12 years. But given the fact that we have not, if there was an urgency there, I guess my question is, which I proposed to Hayley through the email, the last email that I sent you, with some of them being funded early and not knowing the reason why they were able to get funding the first part of the first quarter, when there's so much requirement that the commission has in order for them to actually get funding. If there was an existing organization, then they have to have their reports in, and I think that, if I recall, that those reports have to be in at least by January, end of January or February to even get funded of the funding year. Then it appears that this organization, if it didn't have the resources, they would have been one of the ones who was funded in the first quarter. Would that be a fair assessment? Because what I was going to ask, the reason why I'm saying that is, for those who have received money, but this one has not received their money, and I'm sure it's vitally needed, looking at all the long lines in other states dealing with food. I don't have a problem with that, but the fact that they are not funded yet, where's the urgency? And that leads me to whenever we I'm going to ask us to go back and look at those that have been funded, and then maybe send in a letter to us of their urgency, because a lot of these programs have been put on hold. I mean, they may have received the money, but they are not operating because of the distancing and all this type of thing. And I think that would be fair to everybody.
This is Donna. I'd like to take a stab at answering part of that question.
Okay.
The way that the funding works is, if they're an existing organization, of course, Commissioner Burrell, as you mentioned, they have to have their reports in. What happens is those reports come in and they are reviewed in the order in which they're received by both finance, and then they come to legal for review. If they do not meet the specifications in the CEA or do not provide all the information, then we ask them for their information that they need to also send in. That's additional information, and they of course get pushed kind of to the back of the queue. Then once they have been fully reviewed and approved, we send them a CEA. They sign it and send it back, and we sign it and record it. Then they are sending an invoice to finance to request their funding. It's my understanding that the food bank did not request their funding, even though their CEA had been signed and filed prior to us shutting down on the 13th. But all of the organizations that were funded basically completed their process. Either they got if they were existing organizations, they got their reports in first, and so they were reviewed first. And their processes completed first, or they were new organizations that we did not have to review, or we got all of their information in first. And so they're funded when staff is doing it in the order in which they're received, in which we have all their information, not necessarily by urgency. And so if you have some that were unfunded, it's because either we're waiting on information for them, their review was not completed prior to the pandemic, or their review was completed and they did not request their funding prior to the pandemic.
Well, the only thing, and I understand that, Ms. Frazier, and I've been through this process a number of years personally, and I've never, I'm sure that the commission is pretty efficient, but at the same time, I've even with all the information in, it takes a little while it's been my experience to even get the funding, to even get your letter back to the organization saying that you know, we are ready to fund you, because that is a back and forth process. I know we used to have to hand carry it. We can carry ours down to try to expedite it, but it still took into the second quarter for that to be done. So that's what just kind of threw a flag up at me, that how these organizations get their funding so early. But your explanation is accepted. I'm fine, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. We have a motion, and you got another question, Dr. Wilson?
Oh, no, I was just going to say that the sense of urgency is by no means to be a driver here, because the food bank passes out food every day. So, and to welfare groups in the community that feed other people. So the urgency has already been established. Just want to add that to that equation. Right.
Yeah, I mean, and now you got people that's laid off, and you got some people that's never been to the food bank or going to the food bank now.
That's
So
correct.
That's why I said we keep the money at
I
90,000.
support the mission. That's not the issue.
Okay. All in favor, roll call, please. On the motion.
Hopkins,
Yes.
Johnston,
Yes.
Burrell,
Yes.
Hawthorne is absent, Chavez,
Yes.
Lazarus.
Yes.
That passed with 5 yeas.
Okay. The next one on the list will be Grace Project. And it's a neighborhood stabilization efforts and community revitalization. It's at $8,000.
Mr. Chairman, I don't want to dominate.
Well, hold on. Mario had his hand up first.
Thank you, Chairman. I was going to ask that we push the economic development NGOs to the summer as well. However, I did want to bring up one in a second, but the Christian Service Program, it's labeled economic development, and I'm trying to go off of the things that are needed the most, like as in food. So the economic development things, I would like to push those to the summer. However, pull out the Christian Service Program so we can discuss that one.
They were funded already.
Oh, well, perfect. But we still probably need to change the nomenclature or the description, but to move the economic developments to the summer, unless any other commissioners have a specific one that we think is of dire need to the citizens now.
Second.
You got one with Shreveport Green. That's economic development. You might want to keep open. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one, Chairman, because they're actually delivering seeds and vegetables to people so that they can create their own food at home. I think that would be important. So I would definitely remove that one, but all the other ones, we can move those to the summer as well.
Okay. Let me add, Mr. Chairman, point of clarification. Shreveport Green, you're saying is called economic development? That's not economic development. I've dealt with Shreveport Green over 20 years. Why are we classifying it as economic development? More education and social, if you want to call it social welfare, than economic development. I'm trying to understand that. I understand our economic development projects now have to have some sort of benefit statement or impact statement.
That's on the Economic Development Committee side. On the NGO side, it's a little different.
This is Hayley. I can change Shreveport Green to social welfare as well as the Christian services. That's not a problem.
Just confusing.
I will
Just
change.
confusing to me.
Send out an updated spreadsheet.
Okay, appreciate it.
It's just confusing.
Hey, Hayley.
That's all.
Hayley, change all of them, and that way Roy won't be confused on it.
Well,
Change all of this. I will. I'll go through them and update them.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I don't want to feel like I'm picking, but at the same time, it is a matter of clarification for me. It allows me to understand what we're doing better. if the description, if similar descriptions are having their funding coming from the proper source.
Okay. We are at, which one we was at?
We had a motion to delay the economic development ones. Motion and a second.
Okay. So we have a motion to delay the economic development ones, which will end up being classified as something totally different. So let's just do each one of them separately because it's just gonna get confusing. It's not that many economic development ones.
It's only two, huh?
No, it's more than two. It's like 3, I believe, or 4.
I didn't see that on mine. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so we'll postpone Grace Project. You take that friendly motion amendment to your motion, Mario?
Yes.
Okay, so, and the Harmony Faith Ministries, we'll do that one too. We'll do both of them together as postponed until the summer. There any questions on those two? So we have a motion and a second.
Who was the second?
Hopkins.
Hopkins.
Gotcha.
To postpone those two to the summer. Roll call, please.
Hopkins,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Burrell,
Yes.
Cawthorn's absent, Chavez,
Yes.
Lazarus.
Yes.
That passed with 5 yeas.
Okay. Next one up is Hope Connection. And I would say that we keep that one. Yes, sir.
Sorry to interrupt. I wanted to see if Miss Nations or somebody from administration can post this list. I'm getting a lot of messages. People want to look at what we're looking at simultaneously. And I tried to post the link on the website. However, it's within our Office 360, so it's locked if you don't have access. So if admin, if you can post this Caddo Parish Commission 2020 NGO budget funding list that we're looking at on a public page that people can view, maybe on the Facebook page or in the agenda, it would help out because I've gotten about 5 messages now that people would like to look at what we're looking at, the same document. I shared it, but they can't click on it. That's all. Thank you, Chairman.
They can go to the budget and see it from the budget book if
Okay.
they need to. Okay. On the Hope Connection, that's basically emergency funds for maintaining the shelter for homeless people. I say we keep that one at 15. I make a motion to keep that one at 15 and fund it whenever they request.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second by Commissioner Chavez to keep Hope Connection at 15,000. Any questions? No questions, I see. Roll call, please.
Hopkins,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Burrell,
Yes.
Cawthorn's absent, Chavez,
Yes.
Lazarus.
Yes.
That's 5 yeas.
Okay. Next one. The Ivory Crown is on the agenda for, I think it's on our regular session agenda and not this one. So I won't bring that one up. Moving next to
Is that education?
the social welfare, from what they say. It's categorized.
I thought they were reading reading is fundamental. That's social welfare.
They got youth are given access to shoes and socks. That's social welfare.
Oh, okay.
They also do extensive college prep for youth. And they also do the reading the fundamental. So when the time comes up, you can adjust the dollar amount if you want to in the meeting. The next one I see is Martin Luther King Community Development Corporation, social welfare.
I think they were already funded.
No, they wouldn't, but they have been actively doing stuff. So I would make the motion to keep them at 25.
I'll
Mr.
second
Chairman,
that motion, but I think I'm looking at the wrong one.
Mr. Chairman, point of clarification.
Well, I'm trying to make sure I got a second on my motion, and then I get to your point of clarification.
I got you, Vice President.
Okay, so I have a motion and a second to fully fund Martin Luther King at $25,000 and not postpone it. Now, questioning Commissioner Burrell.
My question go back to the one that I had before. Many of these organizations, these are ones that have not received their funding, and we don't have an idea of when they will be expending the money, even if they get it. How fair is that to any of the others that we are addressing at this point? Since we don't know whether or not they're even doing their program, regardless of whether they've gotten their funds or not. I'm just not understanding that.
Well, I think what led off in the meeting was Commissioner Chavez said that we ought to be doing a hierarchy of needs. So based upon the classification, that's what we're trying to do. So if it's an educational one, we're saying that we'll postpone that. They're gonna get a letter. They're gonna reply back in that letter that these are the things that we're doing, and these are the things that we're gonna continue to try to do. And so we need the funding to try to get that accomplished. If they don't reply back, then we always know that they don't want the funding or they don't need the funding. So this is what this meeting is about. Now, if they come back in a couple of weeks and say, we're in dire need of the money because we're doing video conferencing and all that there, we can have another committee meeting. This is not the only committee meeting we're gonna have. This committee is gonna be pretty active this year because of what we got going on. So even if we postponed it, we can always come back and say, based upon the needs from the letter that they received and they sent back, then we might need to go back in and fund it.
Okay, well, I'm trying to follow the statements and the discussion that we had. I thought we said that with these who have not requested their funds yet, or we have not given them their funds yet, that
it's not that they haven't, you missed that point. It's not that they might already have requested their funds. They might not have received it. They might not have signed the corporate endeavor agreement. So if they haven't done all of that, they don't get any funds. So that's why some of them hadn't got their money, because either they could have had a report that was wrong, they didn't turn the report in on time, they didn't sign the corporate endeavor agreement, or they working the corporate endeavor agreement out. That's the reason why.
Okay, but they're not going to have to submit anything else to say whether or not they when they're going to commence their program, or whether or not it is urgent at this point, or anything like that. Is what I'm hearing you say.
Well, I'm quite sure if it's a social welfare that it's urgent right now because they're actually doing something.
Okay.
And that's why we have this little side on the side of what the general purpose is. I just so happen to know what MLK is doing, so I can vouch for them. I mean, if there's an organization that you know that's doing something, you should vouch for them. You should say that they doing something, and then we can consider that. But if you don't say that, then we're gonna go with what we're doing.
Okay. Well, I was just thought maybe we're gonna keep it consistent. Let them tell us what they're doing.
Okay. Well, I mean, that's what you want to do. That's fine. But I know what they're doing, so that's why I'm saying I'm telling the group that's what they're doing. So if you get one that you know what they're doing, then that's fine. I don't have a problem with it.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm go ahead on, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Commissioner Chavez, I see your hand.
Thank you, VP. Listen, I thought the MLK Community Development Corporation was the MLK Health Center.
That's one already been funded. Okay.
Right. That's why I thought they were already funded. I want to retract my second because I do know the MLK Health Center is helping out, and that's very important with the medicine and whatnot. And the MLK, I mean, I can add my second back, but I'd like, well, I guess I may not vote for it. I'll leave my second so you can talk about it, but I may not vote for it because I just looking at the descriptions, like dance school and summer camps and Thanksgiving and Christmas giveaways. I don't really know if that's paramount right now for us to be spending the money on. But if you
Well,
can
I
give me
guess,
some other insight.
yeah, and the last part of their purpose says and other emergencies. So being that we've in this emergency now, they have been, before we gave away all of the masks, they actually went out and bought a bunch of masks so that they can start giving away to senior citizens in the area because the MLK area was a hot spot. They have been working also trying to make sure that before school was out, so they've already expended some funds before school was let out, and they've been working on this tutoring virtual because school was still doing the virtual deal, so they were trying to help some of the citizens with hotspots and all that kind of stuff. So
Would you take a $10,000 payout as opposed to a 25 to at least help them?
we could take 10 now, then they still be eligible for the 15 later on.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I guess, you know, I don't want to beat a dead horse, but it appears that our process is kind of flawed in that unless you know the organization personally and that you work with that organization, then how would we make a determination that, you know, whether or not.
Well, Roy, this is a little different from state funding because in this funding, you should be getting to know these organizations. And so it's a little different. I mean, when you're doing state funding, you giving money out throughout the state and you hoping they're doing whatever they're doing. But in parish funding, this NGO funding, you should be touching each one of these or touching some of them so that you know exactly what they're doing. You see it and you hear people talking about it.
You primarily touch the ones, Mr. Chairman, that first of all is in your district.
Well, this one is in my district, so I can touch it. I know it.
Well, that's my whole point. My point is that we are only 4 people here. We got 12 people, 12 commissioners. We are making a decision on the NGOs that are in those districts also that we're not even familiar with. Do you get my point? I'm a little concerned that we're being a bit.
Okay, so let me clarify a little bit more for you, Roy. So as a committee meet, I mean, it's not just limited to the ones that's on the committee. If I wasn't on this committee and I knew that there were some organizations that needed funding and it was maybe a possibility that funding will be either cut or diminished, I would be sitting in the meeting anyway as part of my responsibility for what I do. So it's not the fact that this is final anyway. This still has to go to the full body to vote on because we're adjusting this. It's not like we gonna us five will make this decision and that's the way it rolls. It's gonna go back to the body to vote on it because we had a basically a fund deficient in this particular fund. So we're just trying to streamline the whole process by presenting this to the full body to vote on because we might still have to transfer some money over in order to cover what we just already said we wanted to cover.
I appreciate your observation, Mr. Chairman, but at the same time, unless someone had told me as a commissioner that's not on this committee that your district you need to go and vouch for, then I wouldn't be in this meeting. I would have to wait until we have a full commission meeting and bog it down for what we possibly should be doing here. I'm just a little uncomfortable with our process. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
It's not about
every
being on the
every
state.
governing body does theirs a little differently, and every chairperson does theirs a little differently. So this is the only way I can know to do it. Otherwise, everybody is waiting until the casinos open back up, and what we do then.
That is the reason why I made the statement as an alternative, that for those organizations that we are dealing with right now, if they could send us a letter specifying their urgency, money that means things that they've done, that would actually let us know where they are in this environment, and will give us an idea of whether or not they really need the money.
Roy, that'll work for the next meeting. That's fine for the next meeting. But right now, all of them are suspended for right now. That don't have any money. So if the food bank really needed some money right now, they couldn't get it because they already got a letter saying that NGOs were suspended. So,
but aren't we setting priorities?
That's what we're doing now, Roy.
Yeah.
Okay.
But you can't set a priority unless you know what's going on in that organization, can you? I'm not challenging you, Mr. Chairman. I'm just trying to deal from a standpoint of fairness.
Okay,
and
Roy.
Somehow this doesn't seem to be very fair in terms of the process. And somebody else, if you don't, I mean, maybe it's just me.
Roy, when they send their letter back and they tell us their urgency for the money, we'll have another meeting. The meeting is not going to, I ain't going to have another meeting in November or September. We'll have another meeting once we get enough of them in, and then we can prioritize the second round. We just trying to get off of, right now, nobody gets any more funding. Okay. We got to have some kind of meeting so that we can say, okay, we have said by our priorities, based upon the information we have in front of us, we are prioritizing these to continue to be funded with the money that's in the account right now. Once the other groups that's been postponed come back with their urgency, we would then have a second round to say, these are the next ones that need to be funded. Now, if nobody responds, that tells me that there's no urgency.
Right. So just listen to what you just got through saying. The one that we're setting now in terms of priority, are they going to have to send us a letter specifying their urgency, or just based upon what we are saying that, okay, this organization, I think it needed because they've expended money
based on
for
the
mass.
information we have in front of us and based on what they did in prior years. You knew, so you don't understand all what they've been doing in prior years. So I understand that. But this is the first round. We'll have another meeting in a month, 5 weeks to do the second round. But we got to get off of and move to how we going to actually address these NGOs. And that's what this meeting is about.
Okay.
So we do have a motion.
Mr. Hopkins' hand is raised, Chairman.
Yes, Mr. Hopkins.
May I ask a question of Ms. Barnett? Are they holding any invoices for MLK CDC that need to be paid at this time?
Well, NGOs are different.
No, not that I'm aware of. We have a couple that I would have to look up, but it's not MLK that have sent in requests, but we haven't paid them.
Okay.
I think it's just one or two.
Yeah, but most of your NGOs are set up totally different from for-profit organizations. So your NGOs request the money up front and then they expend it, and then they turn in a report saying that how they spend the money.
Right.
So a lot of them don't say go out and spend it, then send the money and say, well, we requesting this amount of money. So they set up totally different.
And this is Donna. It was my understanding or my recollection actually that I needed more information from a report for MLK CDC, which I think I got right before we shut down. So they have not gotten their CEA yet, but depending on what action the commission takes, they will be getting one as soon as we're back online with the program.
Right.
Question, Ms. Frazier.
Yes, sir.
So the ones that we are prioritizing now, we have CEAs for, because I know that our information, I mean, I'm just using it as an example. I know we had not received, I mean, ICE had not received a CEA, although their information has been in. So maybe it's because you all just hadn't gotten around to it. So I'm finding, I'm just finding some issues here that we're not
Bro,
considering.
I don't even see ICE on NGOs.
What you mean that they're not on NGOs? You just call their name out that was postponed on the
Oh.
education.
Which one? Oh, the inner city. Okay, my bad. All
That's
right.
all.
Basically,
All right.
Commissioner Burrell, if, like I said, they were reviewed in the order in which they were received. I'm not sure if I have them reviewed, but if they are reviewed, depending on what action you all take here, if they're not postponed, they will be getting a CEA. I had a little stack, probably of about 6 or 7 organizations that I got right before we shut down on March the 11th. And so I was told at that time we were going to be experiencing a shortfall to hold off until you all made a decision. And so we've stopped until you all make a decision to go forward and based on how you go forward.
Okay, back to you, Mr. President. Let me be clear in my head that the priorities that the organization that we are setting now, which we are prioritizing them, they are not responsible for sending you any letter or anything stating where they are, whether their program is going to be ongoing during this crisis, whether or not they've expended money in which they need to go ahead on and make their request so that they can take care of those expenses or what have you. What I'm hearing, I mean, that is what I'm hearing, that they are not, that the one that we're setting as priority doesn't have to let us know as a committee before we wind up funding them, where they are in the process of where they are in terms of their activity, whether there are any activity that's going on, whether they've made them some expenditure and they're just waiting for their money to cover it or anything like that. And I'm just trying to be clear in my head that that's what
Rob, we hadn't approved, but 2, maybe 3. So
Even
if
though-
you want them 3 on there, that's fine. We put them 3 on there. I don't care. We can just put them on there. I'm good with that.
You're missing my point.
If that's gonna make you feel
That's
better, if that's gonna make you
No,
feel
it's
better,
not. It's not
we'll
a
put them
matter of
3.
feeling better. Don't I don't know. Don't patronize. Don't patronize me.
Well, I mean,
I don't think, well, maybe nobody understands what I'm asking. Maybe
I understand what you're asking, but they've already filled out an application. They was already approved. All we're saying is that based upon the ones we see, education is not a top priority.
Right.
Okay. So we move down to economic development and we say we're gonna postpone those 2.
Right.
Then those gonna get reclassified. So we even talked about them anyway.
Right.
Then we
That's
go down
my
to social
point.
welfare. Social
Okay.
welfare. So
And we're
social
prioritizing.
welfare, we're prioritizing those social welfare ones. That's what we're doing now.
Okay.
So
Now,
if you agree with a number that's called out by a committee person, you vote yes. If you don't, vote no. Or you can do a
Well, maybe-
substitute motion to another amount.
well, let me
It's
do a
just that
substitute
simple.
motion. Let me do a substitute motion. No, I just want to make sure that the ones that we are prioritizing, that they have an urgent need for the money. You're saying, what I heard you say is, well, these are organizations we've funded before. We know what they do. And this is why they don't have to submit anything else as to whether or not their program is started, whether they've expended funds and they needed this money or anything like that. That's what I'm hearing. And I guess my motion would be that they would submit before they receive a payout. that we receive something from them, basically letting us know where they are in terms of their activities, whether they're doing anything, or have they expended money that they need this money for? Which
Okay,
would be,
Roy,
to
we
me,
got you.
fair.
I got you.
Which
We'll do
which
that.
would
We'll do
need to
that at
be
the
fair.
end. We'll do that at the
Okay,
end.
okay,
The
Mr.
ones that
Chairman.
we approve.
Okay, seems like that would be fair.
That's fine.
I'm good. You won't hear from me, Mr. Chairman. Go ahead on.
Okay. To me, at the end of the day, all these organizations should be getting some type of funding because they went through the process in 19 to submit their application, determine the need. Now, school gonna start back in August or September. School might be set up a little differently. Between the summer and now and the end of the year, those organizations will have a new way of saying this is how we're gonna do our program. They're gonna still ask for the money in 2020. So all we're doing now is just saying, okay, this will give them time to put together how they're gonna do and how they're gonna request the funding for the rest of the year. For the ones that education, that's why we said push them back. Social welfare, we're going through each one of those right now. So we said on the one that we got the motion on was with MLK CDC was for 10,000 of the 25,000. So they are approved for right now for 10,000, and as the year go on, they can get the other 15,000 based upon already being allocated the money. Now, if they don't come up with a need for the other 15,000, then they don't get it.
But how do you know that they need the 10 if they haven't submitted anything to you other than what you see in front of you?
An NGO is not going to submit anything and ask for money. They're going to get the money up front and then spend the money and then send in a report showing how we spent the money.
Right.
All right. But if the NGO has some funds already in the bank, they can go ahead and use those funds based upon the approval that they already got that they're going to get this money for 2020. So if they use the funds because of the emergency, and being that it was an emergency what they spent the money on, then what they're going to do, wait for the parish to say, well, we still got to go through this process. The emergency would have been passed by that time. So true enough, they use funds from already in the bank account. We're going to put all the ones that we approve to send them that list, that questionnaire that you're talking about, so that they could answer that. And then we can come back on the second round and say, well, that's all they need, or we need to make sure that they get the rest of their money.
Okay, I understand. I guess my only final question is the fact that we are making an assumption that their program has not stopped, it's continued, and that they are expending this money already. And because they are approved, then they can come back and just justify those expenses, although their program may not even be going on right now.
Roy, if they don't spend the money, they got to get the money back. They can't just keep it.
Yeah, but okay, go ahead on. But you're giving them the money up front is what I'm saying. That's the same thing I could say about the education program. But go ahead on. We in social welfare. That's a whole different ballgame is what you're saying. I'm good.
Roll call, please.
I'm good.
Commissioner Johnson, Commissioner Hopkins, and Commissioner Chavez have their hands raised.
Oh, okay.
We took care of mine. Mine should come off.
Commissioner Chavez.
Read the motion, Chairman. That's all I'm asking.
Okay, the motion was to allocate the 10,000 of the 25,000 for the MLK CDC for now,
Thank
and
you,
then
Chairman.
we'll look at the other 15,000 later, based upon the letter that they get in response that we get back in the next round. Roll call now.
Hopkins. Hopkins.
You're on mute, Todd.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Burrell.
Yes.
Absent. Chavez.
Yes.
Lazarus.
Yes.
Okay, we have 5 yays.
All right. Next one is Mission Project Foundation. And that one look like it should be education all the way.
Move to delay.
Second.
So moved.
Second.
So a motion and a second to delay until the summer or to the next meeting. Any questions?
Now, the Mission Foundation is Boys Club, Salvation Army.
No. Not that no.
I'm sorry.
It's further down. No, it's further down. Roll call, please.
Hopkins,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Burrell,
Yes.
Cawthorn is absent. Chavez,
Yes.
Lazarus.
Yes.
Okay, that's 5 yays.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, let me ask Michelle to do this. I'm sure she's on her computer. Could she send me that list again of what we are looking at? Because I'm gonna have to close this out in order for me to try to send this to a printer. If she sent it to my Roy Burrell 2, I will be able to get it on my other computer here, and I can go in there and print it off on my printer.
Okay.
Michelle,
I'm doing
or
it now.
either Hayley. Either Michelle or Hayley. I think Hayley is the one that sent it to me.
I'll send it right now.
Okay. I'm sorry, I printed it out and I just don't have it. It's at home.
Next one is Promojo Art Society.
Now that's education, that's not economic development. I think that was one that was on there.
So you making a motion to postpone?
Yes. Because it's not economic development.
We got it. You ain't got to go through the process. We got it. Okay. She gonna change all the economic developments anyway, remember?
Okay, well.
Commissioner, this is Donna. They did actually submit impact information for economic development.
Well, should it come through this committee or through economic development then?
That is not my decision, but they submitted with the economic development prong, and they submitted information to back that up. So.
Well, I'm just basing it upon what the chairman said earlier, that if there's a economic development, economic impact study, and it's economic development, it would go to economic development anyway. It wouldn't come to this organization. Maybe I'm listening too closely.
Well, you're gonna have some in this NGO, and you're gonna have some in economic development. So
okay,
that's how they failed. That's how they failed in 2019. So in 2020, you can make sure that we don't have this problem in 2021.
Sure. Oh, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right. So, what is there a motion on Promojo?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Roy made one.
If that's where you're going to play.
Your motion is to postpone it still? I'm asking.
No, you're saying that this is clear. There's an impact statement, and we do it in this committee. So let's go with it. So move.
For the 5,000? Or
Yeah.
to postpone?
Postpone it, Mr. Chairman.
All right. We have a
Second.
motion and a second to postpone. Any questions?
Who was the second?
Say it. Commissioner
Me.
Lazarus.
Lazarus.
What was the original motion? I'm sorry, guys.
To postpone.
postpone.
We're going to come back anyway, I understand.
Which entity? Postpone which entity?
Promotion.
Okay, thank you.
Would you like me to do
Roll
roll
call.
call? Okay.
Yes,
Hopkins,
Yes.
Johnson,
yes.
Burrell,
Yes, yes.
Cawthorn is absent, Chavez,
Yes.
Lazarus.
Yes.
Okay, we have 5 yeas.
Okay. Next one is Robinson Rescue. I move to postpone.
Second,
Second.
Got a motion to postpone and a second. Any questions?
Who was the second?
I second
Lazarus
it.
or
Me.
Burrell, either one. I saw.
I got a question, Chairman.
Go ahead.
Are they still providing services to the parish?
Yes, yes, they are.
Okay.
Yes, they are.
Um,
Spay and neutering is very important to us.
Can
Under
just,
this program, Dr. Wilson, or under another program, under animal services?
Well, unfortunately, they're not under animal services. They're under the NGO. They've been for the last 17, 18 years.
Okay.
Mhm.
Go ahead, Mario. You still got the floor. I just asked.
I'd like to make a substitute motion that if they request a funding, that we give them half, and then we save the other half for after the casinos open back up, and we can assess our situation. And I could speak on that motion if I can get a second.
Second,
So,
Thank
okay, you got it.
Thank you, Commissioner. Reason being is I think the service that they provide the parish directly impacts our bottom line as well as the well-being of the citizens of Caddo Parish. We have a lot of people at home right now and a lot of situations where we don't need a lot of dogs running around the neighborhood, possibly biting kids that are outside. We need to help decrease the population and go on the trend that we've already achieved. I think CPOS has done a good job at what they're doing now. And if we can afford it at half, we should continue on with this and then reassess it after the casinos open back up and we have the excess riverboat funds.
Okay, I'm gonna speak.
well,
I think that yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, according to the email that I see, we're doing a lousy job and need to be shut down according to some of the nasty emails that I've seen as it relates to our animal welfare system. Maybe I'm mistaken.
Well,
Go ahead on.
Commissioner Burrell, I'm gonna give you an invitation to go out to Animal Services to actually
have.
see what they do.
I agree.
And when you
I'm
look
being
at,
facetious, Mr. Chairman. That's all, because I have been out there.
okay, I just wanted to make sure. I know I can't take nothing for granted soon, and I want to make sure.
Yes.
So, I think right to me, and the reason why I said to move to postpone is because if you look at it on one hand, yeah, it does. The spay and neutering part is something that we should be doing, but at the same time, we're postponing a lot of human need organizations, and to me, that goes back to trying to put animals above humans sometimes, and so we know that there's a need to do that, but with people being at home, they should have better control of their dogs and cats than they would be out working or whatever. So that's why I said the 0 to postpone until we go to the next round.
That makes sense. I support the president, but that makes sense, Mr. Chairman.
Any other questions?
Yes, I have a question.
Okay.
What is our total commitment to Robinson's Rescue right now?
50,000.
Mario, what was your substitute motion for?
To only fund at half, 25,000, and then after the river boats open back up and we see the budget, then we can assess the situation to fund out the second half.
Mr. Chairman, I need to withdraw my second on your motion and second Mario's motion.
Thank you,
I
Commissioner.
know,
Commissioner Burrell seconded already.
okay.
Okay. Any other questions? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Hopkins,
Yes.
Johnson,
No.
Burrell,
Yes.
Cawthorn is absent, Chavez,
Yes.
Lazarus.
Yes.
Okay, we have 4 yays and 1 nay.
All right. Salvation Army, the Merkel Center of Hope.
Move to approve.
Second. Got a motion and a second to approve Salvation Army, Merkel Center of Hope for $25,000. Any questions? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Hopkins,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Burrell,
Yes.
Cawthorn is absent, Chavez,
Yes.
Lazarus.
Yes.
We have 5 yays.
Okay. Next one I see is Shreveport Green.
Motion to approve.
Move to postpone.
So I heard, I think it was it Todd? Was that you?
No, I said move to postpone because I thought we was classifying that to education. I thought that was a part of that too. We're going back and putting it back in economic development.
No, it's gonna get changed from economic development. That's why we were talking about it.
That was me, Chairman, the motion to approve this one. If I can get a second, I'll speak on it.
Well, again, I'll second for you to speak on it, Mr. President, because again, if this is going to be classified as economic, education, it automatically going to be postponed anyway.
Thank you, Commissioner. I'll go ahead and speak on it really quick. Commissioners, I wanted to approve this one. It's obviously a very small amount, $77,500 that they're requesting. I know that Shreveport Green is not just a district specific, that they've been going throughout Caddo Parish and dropping off seeds at different locations, literally to the doorstep of citizens, so that parents and children can farm and grow vegetables in their backyard over the summer. They were worried about a lot of produce slowing to the different locations, the grocery stores. And I thought it was really cool that they went above and beyond and helped a lot of different communities, not just one specific community, but all of our districts, and passed out seeds and even sprouting tomato plants to help out the people while they're at their house and feed them. So I think this is a very small amount to grant them to continue the work that they're doing for Caddo Parish.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Shreveport Green get monies and resources from many different sources. And is this money specifically for passing out seeds and what have you? Because according to this description, there's a lot of other things under that heading too. I'm not sure if the 7,500 would be for that purpose, or if it's going to be reclassified as education. I'm not sure how we can place that above the others on education. Mr. President, you might want to address that.
In regards to the other things, that's similar to the MLK CDC. There were some things on there where I know that they had a lot of other things. However, a lot of entities have stepped it up in light of COVID and done things, I think, above and beyond to the current situation to help the citizens. And this would definitely be one of those who thought outside the box and went door to door to hand out, because they normally don't do that. They normally don't hand out seeds and bring vegetables that already started growing to local citizens to their doorstep. But their staff did it all hands on deck to make sure that the community had vegetables ready to grow. And I think that was really cool. So that obviously is expensive to do just on transportation alone. I don't know how many seeds that they passed out, but I know on average it was about 25 packs per house. And if you go buy seeds from like Lowe's, they're $1 to $3 depending on the vegetation type. So they definitely put a good amount of funding in free things for all the citizens that they went to. Anybody that asked for seeds or vegetables, they got.
So you're saying that they purchased these seeds, they were not donated by a Home Depot or Lowe's?
I actually can't speak on that. I don't know the procurement process of how they got the seeds.
All right, Mr. Chairman, if that's, I'm just trying to be consistent, that's all. There's nothing, I mean,
Hayley,
I love.
Hayley, would you reclassify that one as social welfare?
Done.
All right. So that'll help you be more consistent on that one. Any other questions? Not seeing any roll. Okay, come on, Todd.
I would just like to point out that I do remember last week's natural resource meeting that they talked about trying to utilize Shreveport Green to help with the Victory Garden things. So we might want, we don't want to give and take, give with one hand and take with another.
Right. They're going to be helping with the community gardens, right? Which helps what Mario is talking about with the seeds, but the community gardens will be a whole different project. Roll call, please.
Hopkins,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Burrell,
Yes.
Cawthorn is absent, Chavez,
Yes.
Lazarus.
Yes.
Okay, we have 5 yeas.
All right. Next one on the list is Southern University, which will come up in our next meeting. St. Luke's Episcopal Mobile Medical. I make the motion to keep them at $67.50 for right now and fund it.
Second.
Any questions?
Say that again, I'm sorry.
$67.50, the amount that they got down here, fully funded.
Oh, okay.
Make sure that
No,
it's 6,750, not 67. I think some people thought it was 67,000.
I said $67.50, $6,750. Tell your people listen a little closer, Mario. All right. Roll call.
Hopkins,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Burrell,
Yes.
Cawthorn is absent, Chavez,
Yes.
Lazarus.
Yes.
That's 5 yeas.
Okay. Next one is Supermen for Christ.
Postponed to the summer.
Second.
Question. I don't know this organization either, but it's listed on the social welfare. Is there something in this description that they may be doing that we don't know about? It says fund also to be used to purchase food to feed community program. Does that rise to the degree that some of the other ones that we said that they are they're passing out seeds for food. Just to kind of keep it fair.
Well, I'm open for a motion. I mean, if you
our
want to do a
motion-
substitute motion, well, you can't do it now. You gotta wait till somebody else say something, then you come back because you're not ready to talk.
Okay, well, somebody say
All right.
something.
I mean, I'm looking at it, and being that we postpone it doesn't mean that they're not gonna get the funding. Only thing we're doing is postponing the funding until we get some additional information, if that helps you out in it. But
Well, no,
if
it doesn't
doesn't,
help me out, Mr. Chairman.
all right, so it don't help you out in it. Now I've talked. You can make a substitute motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I substitute motion that we, since it's gonna be postponed anyway, reduce it by half to 5,000 to keep it consistent with some of the others, social welfare / education programs. I just want to be consistent.
All right, second, I go along with it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, so we have a substitute motion to do 5,000 now and reevaluate the other 5,000 based upon the response back from the letter that we get from them. Any other questions? Roll call, please.
Hopkins,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Burrell,
Yes.
Cawthorn is absent, Chavez,
Yes.
Lazarus.
Yes.
We have 5 yeas.
Ooh, we have finished. Haley,
Well,
can you give me a new total?
Okay, Mr. Chairman. You said that we would do something at the end of this deliberation.
Yeah, I'm waiting to get a total, and then we're gonna make that little adjustment.
Okay.
Okay, I have one question. Did we do family resources of education? It was a social welfare one.
Family
don't-
who?
It's family resource of education and empowerment.
Oh, I must have skipped that one. Roy must
don't
have had
know.
me all confused at that time.
Or I missed it. I could have missed the conversation.
I
don't think we
didn't.
addressed it.
We didn't. Family resources of education and empowerment.
Where is that at?
It's on first page.
Oh,
I think I might have looked over because it looked like it was mostly education.
Yeah, it does. Move to delay.
Second. Got a motion and a second to delay this one until we get some more information. Any questions? Roll call, please.
Hopkins,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Burrell,
yes.
Cawthorn is absent, Chavez,
Yes.
Lazarus.
Yes.
Okay, we have 5 yeas.
Thank you. We have a new number, Haley.
Okay, well, the number overall remains the same because we haven't reduced anybody permanently, but we have
Right.
delayed 443,000 is how much we've delayed, which was any of your education, some of the quote unquote economic development. And then, hold on, just give me one more second. So the total that we've delayed with the ones that we split half and half is 488,000. That leaves the total that we have either already paid or agreed to pay at 539,750.
I got a different number. I got 499,750.
$40,000 difference somewhere.
And it might be the numbers you just gave us. So the $488,000, that's the amount that will be delayed.
That's all the 488 is all the ones that we delayed in total, plus the ones that we split up and
Okay.
delayed.
All right. So we're basically on the hook for,
And I think that's where the $40,000 comes from.
it is.
Mhm.
So we're on the hook for $4,999 and $499,750. Right? Wrong?
Right,
Different?
wrong. I'm double checking you.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm still getting the same number.
Okay, now if you use the
Let
four,
me- I'll
I
update the
subtracted.
spreadsheet.
Okay.
Okay, I was just gonna update the spreadsheet real quick. And make sure I've got everything like you.
Okay.
I might have missed something that, in some of the conversation, I might have put it on my sheet differently than what you have it on yours. You hear what I'm saying? So if I
Right.
can update it, send it to you and you double check me, because some of the conversation I got lost, so.
Okay, so let me ask this question. Either with the 539 or the 499, do we have that much money in the Riverboat Fund account?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we won't have to transfer anything over.
Not at this time.
Not at this time. Okay, that's wonderful. That's what I was trying to accomplish, to try to stay under what we had in the fund originally.
Yes.
Okay, so the next motion I would make before we adjourn is to the ones that we partially funded.
Yeah.
The ones that we partially funded, and the ones that we funded that hadn't received their funds, we will also send them a letter, as well as the ones that we postponed. And based upon their response, we'll know what we need to do on the remaining balance on the ones that we partially funded.
I second it, but I want to have a comment. Since what you're saying is pretty much what I asked for, I'll assume toward the end. You said that toward the end I could make a motion.
That's the motion I was making.
Well, I may want to do a friendly amendment once you hear what I have to say.
Go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, I was going to make a motion that would require a letter of urgent need, if you want to put it in quotes, for funding, outlining priority spending, any existing spending, and time the program or project will commence. That will give us an idea of whether or not, first of all, their program is moving ahead. Second of all, have they expended any money that they need to be reimbursed once they make their request? Thirdly, any priority spending that they may have. And that would be not only for the programs that were prioritized, but also the programs that we've already expended money for. Because if we've already funded them and the money has been sent, we don't know whether or not their program ever commenced. And I think that we need to know that.
Second, any questions on the motion?
That's a friendly amendment to your motion, Mr. Chair.
That's fine. I accept it. Any questions?
Do they
None.
understand?
Seeing
I want
none.
to make sure that they understand it.
I think everybody does. I see nobody looking with their deal with the headlights on. So roll call. You muted, Michelle.
Sorry about that.
Yeah.
Hopkins,
Okay.
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Burrell,
Yes.
Cawthorn is absent. Chavez,
Yes.
Lazarus.
Yes.
We have 5 yeas.
Thank you, ma'am. And that will adjourn our meeting.
Erica's hand is raised, sir.
Oh, is it? I can't see. Okay. Erica?
Yes, Commissioner, I just had a question. The NGOs have to report as of June 30th. Are you all wanting something? We usually send a reminder. Can we send the letter, the reminder, and ask for the information as far as the status with their reports? Or do you want something sooner? Because their reports are due
We want something
in
sooner.
July. Okay,
Something
just
sooner.
wanted to make sure.
Okay, thank
Okay.
Move to adjourn.
Mr. Chairman, I want to tell you that I appreciate you tolerating my not obstinance, but I'm kind of a nerdy person.
you. Okay,
You know,
I understand that.
That's y'all's misfortune.
Yes. Meeting is adjourned. See you in a few minutes.
All right.